Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the Money Talks. And today we have a very special guest. We have somebody who, unfortunately, no VC could convince to give their money and take a little bit of equity stake in the business. Otherwise, they would have been one of the best VCs in the country. But now he himself is a VC. He's out there acquiring companies. He's out there investing in different companies, and he's the one, the only, the star of the East, the president of Thai Kolkata. We've got Mr. Abhishek Rungta with us today. Hi, Abhishek. How are you?
Hi, Anirudh. I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us, and I really, really appreciate you taking out the time. I think a lot of people over here have been looking forward to hearing about your almost 23-year journey now. You're, I think, within the top 1% of entrepreneurs already, because as we all know, 90% of all businesses fail in the first 10 years, and you made it 23 years. So I think we all want to take a little bit of that gold dust that you have and learn from that. And today's conversation is going to be free flowing. I hopefully will get a chance to ask you a ton of questions about how you did it, and
Sure.
and it would really be helpful for our viewers. So to start off, I think Abhishek, let's start off with the fact that what is IndusNet Technologies and what does it do?
Okay, so IndusNet Technologies, which we recently renamed as INT, is basically a product engineering company. We work for lots of large enterprises, especially in banking, insurance, pharma, a little bit retail, and FMCG. And we build digital products for them because all of them are looking for transformation. And we go and work with them to build those products that help them transform their business. Of course, we also work with lots of startups because a lot of startups want to transform their business. And there we came up with a very interesting model, which we call tech capital, where we take cash plus equity in those companies. And so this is what INT does. And besides INT, I run two other businesses, which is my partnership businesses. One is a company in which I am a director, which we acquired. It's called TechShoe, which is an integrated digital marketing company. And the third one is where I play a active role is a joint venture company that I built with my co-founder, Umesh Bhutoria, which is called Energy Tech Ventures, which is into energy analytics and commercial real estate analytics for facility management.
Wow. So you're a 3x entrepreneur, but running all three at the same time.
No, I actually I spend most of my time in INT, but yes, I think I have got my feet in all the three businesses to some extent.
So Abhishek, why the name IndusNet?
So IndusNet is the name itself has a interesting and funny background. So when I was starting the company, actually it was started in a spur of a moment. There was no planning behind starting the company. So I went to actually see the exhibition, and when I reached the exhibition hall, I thought, why not I start my company today itself? And why not I start my company from this exhibition hall itself? So I went in and said, I want to actually exhibit here instead of just seeing the show. And as usual, people would actually laugh out on that. And that is exactly what happened. But then I went inside and, I said that, okay, let me ask these people if they are happy to share a stall with me. And fortunately, the first person I spoke to, he agreed to do that. And
complete cold call. You're saying it was a complete cold call. You just went and randomly just called on someone.
Absolutely
Wow.
random. And then I came out of this place because now I have committed a quarter of a stall, which was less than 25 square feet. And then I had to kind of get things ready for that. And I had around 50 rupees in my pocket. So I went to the nearby cyber cafe to print my leaflets about what I'm going to offer there. And the first thing that came to my mind was, till now I have been mostly doing things as an individual. Now, if I have to put it as a company, what should be the name of the company? And right in front of me, there was a very nice restaurant called Indus Valley Restaurant. So I picked Indus. I picked net from the kind of business I am into. So I was a purist, so hosting should be net. So I put net around Indus, and then obviously it was technologies, so I put technologies. So I just thought of the name right on the spot, went and typed in the name IndusNet Technologies, and made a small one-page leaflet, and the rest is history.
Wow, rest is history. And what a way to find a name. I had no idea. So, and this was all happening in Kolkata?
Yeah, all in Kolkata. So the place was ice skating ring, which is a skating ring in a Birla school, which is modern high school, and which gets converted into an exhibition hall once in a while.
Does Indus Valley Restaurant still exist?
No, it doesn't exist. It did stay for a long time, but it doesn't exist anymore.
But did you ever go and eat over there? I know you saw the name.
Never.
Little does the owner know that his restaurant, it still lives in a way through Indus Net Technologies.
Yes,
So amazing! Wow, I don't think anybody knows that story. I've never actually read that story anywhere about you.
it's not much in public domain. Yeah.
But obviously now you come from. I mean, it's very interesting that we bring up the topic of Kolkata, right? So Kolkata, obviously, if you go back even 100 years, was supposed to be the commercial capital of India.
Yeah.
But now I think over the past 100 years, it's sort of lost its significance. But you have put up a flag over there, and
Mhm.
you've created a business out there in Kolkata, which is not considered to be the mecca of especially internet, right? Because it's supposed to be the area of slow, low, and the traditional Marwadi businesses, right? But you've done something completely different. You're a Marwadi too, but you've done something so completely different, right? And that too in 1997. I think this was you're predating the technology boom at this
Yeah.
point. So
Yes.
what was that passion and that drove you to become an entrepreneur?
So, Anirudh, I never really thought that I will become an entrepreneur, to be very frank, right? My father had a family business of jute trading. And I always thought, at the end of the day, after my studies, after I take some experience from here and there, at the end of the day, I will go and join that business, right? And that would have been a traditional old business. And I had a passion of mountains. I used to go for a lot of trekking trips. I, in fact, did 40 trips, 40 treks in a span of 5 to 6 years. I was hardly in Calcutta. The moment I used to come back, I used to plan the next one. And I, in fact,
Wow.
also a trekking instructor at one point of time. By uh, got trained by some of the good guys in the field, and I was kind of trekking expeditions out. So one, I had an accident, a small accident, and in a bike accident because I used to drive pretty rashly, and I kind of got confined at home. And that was the time when my parallel education that was going on, a little bit of education in NIIT,
Acha.
in those, anyone who can afford were put into NIIT to study computers.
Yeah,
कि,
yeah, I remember.
कि बेटा कुछ
I
कंप्यूटर
did
में
a small stint myself at an IT.
काम आएगा. That was the objective of studying there. But during this period, I kind of discovered myself in terms of, I can do great animation in those products, called AnyPro and all that. And I could make web pages in HTML. So all those was a discovery at that time. And that discovery led me to decide, that the internet is one of the most beautiful thing that has happened to mankind in years and decades and maybe centuries. Because it basically connects the whole world. And the power of connected world is immense. The moment I realized that, I think it was like, decided that this is the career I want in my life, and this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. That is how
Oh
I kind of
wow.
internet business altogether. And yeah, I mean, and then since then, I think I still have the same passion for internet as a medium.
And what was the parents' reaction like back then? Like coming from a jute trading business, right, which is I'm guessing a lot more safe and secure
Yeah.
compared to an internet business in 1997, and explaining that to your father, and obviously raising. I'm guessing you raised at least some personal capital to start, right? How did all of that pan out?
So as I said, as far as the capital is concerned, it was the computer gifted by dad, and the rest was that 50 rupees that I spent in the ice skating rink. Apart from that, I
Okay,
had no
wow.
extra capital. I have just multiplied that money ever since. Okay, so that is one part of the thing. Second is the family reaction was not shocking because I come from a business family, so they were not against it. It was just that we don't know how serious Abhishek is about this whole thing. Maybe he's not very serious. Maybe he may not be successful in this. And if he's not successful, then we have a backup plan. So they were pretty chilled out in that way, and
Oh,
that I
that's
am
good. Wow.
I'm blessed with that. That nobody was really against my doing this business. And as this business started gathering steam, I think everybody supported wholeheartedly. In fact, in year '99, I kind of thought that I will go to do my studies in UK because I had this thought that without a master's degree in engineering, people won't take me seriously. So those odd things that I think sounds foolish today, but I had that thought. So I went to do that, and in fact, when I was out of India, my mom and my sister used to run the company. So that was the level of support I always had.
Oh wow, that is amazing. So I mean, obviously, it took an entire ecosystem then to build Abhishek Rungta.
Of
Wow.
course, I'm playing lucky in many ways, but yes,
But what do you think about the startup ecosystem now in Kolkata?
the startup ecosystem has come a long way, Anirudh. I think when I started my company, of course, there was nothing. In fact, there was nothing in India altogether at that time.
Yeah,
Uh,
very
there
true.
were Yeah, over a period of time, it started developing. Calcutta has been a little behind in this whole thing, mostly because of two things. One is the lack of exposure, and the second is the brain drain that has happened in Kolkata. So if you see, the
Okay.
talent from Kolkata are already working in amazing startups all over the country. Okay, so
Hmm.
there is a lack of Bengal talent working all over the country, right? It's just that they don't get the confidence to come back in Kolkata and start up, or they don't get the confidence of coming back in Kolkata and joining a company. And I don't blame them, because I think the concern for them is the chicken and egg situation. Do we have sufficient companies where if I want to change or if I want to progress in my career, I can make a move, right? So obviously, even if I advertise myself as the great option, they want options beyond IndusNet as well, and which is obvious.
Correct.
And when they don't find that, I think then they go into a shell back. Right? So I think the challenge is this chicken and egg situation in Kolkata, where people are not finding enough companies where they can come and work. And Kolkata is not progressing because all its talent has migrated out. In fact, even in college, people go migrate out into different cities from the college days itself. They don't even complete their college.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. In fact, we
college
funded a
is
bunch of Kolkata-based entrepreneurs, Naya Sagi, Shivalik, and these are great entrepreneurs, right? And we've had great results with them. But you're right. I don't think they want to go back and set up in Kolkata. There's obviously an affinity to Kolkata because they still love that place.
yeah.
But I don't think they see it as a place where I can go and set up a high-tech business that can scale quickly. I mean,
Well,
I started my Indian entrepreneurial career in Kolkata too, right? And
okay.
yeah, after I came back from the US, Baliganj tram station, right? I had an office right there for 7 months, and I remember I was surprised at how slow Kolkata really was, and I was in a real estate business at that time, so I could really quite a frustrating business to be in actually, and that too in Kolkata.
I
And
know.
but I know you also deal with some real estate developers yourself.
Yeah, so we kind of handle almost 80% of the online real estate marketing in Kolkata. And that was a freak incident that happened with us. So I used to run a very interesting one-day program called Digital Marketing Beats Different, in which I would
Acha.
invite CEOs and CEOs and top experts to come and learn more about digital marketing, because I found that the awareness level is too low, and therefore either
Got
the
it.
clients are dissatisfied or the vendors are dissatisfied at the end of the day. So what we did is that I was doing this program, and in one of my program, a gentleman registered who is the doyen of advertising industry, and he is the guru of a lot of famous advertisers in the country. Is
Oh wow.
Yeah. So he was part of that show, and I was like shivering in my legs, like if this guy is sitting in front of me, what am I going to talk about? I mean, I should not even talk about anything. His name was Ram Ray. Unfortunately, he's not among us anymore, and I have a lot of respect for him. I learned a lot from him. And after the session, he threw a challenge to me. He said, Abhishek, ये ऑनलाइन आप ये सब जो बेच रहे हो तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, तो कोई भी बेच लेगा. प्रॉपर्टी बेच के दिखा सकते हो क्या? And that time, only one company in India was trying to sell property online, which was Tata Homes, and they were not
Okay.
successful till that time. It was, I think, 6 years back or even more. So he took me to one of the companies whom he was consulting with, and he asked me to present the whole workshop again in front of their management. And he said, "Why don't you now convince them that you can sell property online?" So it was a challenge. First of all, I was not convinced myself that I can sell property online or not, because I had no experience in that. And the second was that, again, you are making a promise to the other person sitting in front of you that I can do that. But I think
Right. Sir.
that for me, it was like the opportunity to work with Ram Ray that did the trick. I said, yes, sir, I would like to work with you. And I would love to take this challenge. And then, we worked with them. We make sure that in 3 years' time, almost more than 50% of their properties are sold online, which is possibly not even the case for most of the Bombay real estate developers.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
they are.
very true. I would imagine. Yeah.
And then the news spread out in the market that IndusNet has done this small magic. Then all the other real estate players started coming in. They started hiring us, and eventually we got almost 80% market share in terms of number of properties sold online, or inquired online in Kolkata market.
So Abhishek, tell me, when you were doing these workshops, were you giving these workshops out for free, or what was the basis?
So there was a small entry fee just to make sure that people only who are serious are coming. But otherwise, there was not an intent to make any money out of it. We used to spend more money than make out of those workshops.
But the point was you did want to charge them something, right? Because then that's how they would create a value and a price differential. And I think at least most entrepreneurs, I feel they almost feel because they've got venture funding. I almost think that they're afraid to ask the customer to pay for a taste, right?
Oh yeah, And
and
I know this, and I had a very interesting incident. I like to share that with you on this particular topic. So I was in a product conclave in Bangalore, and now for a guy coming from a slow industry like Kolkata, a region like Kolkata, the Bangalore can be quite intimidating. And everyone was talking about large plans and large products and everything, and everybody would ask me one single question that, from whom did you raise investment? And I was used to kind
right.
of but as if I am like being bitten by a snake, and there is no. So I was kind of starting to feeling a little inferior. I had this inferiority complex coming in. कि क्या हो रहा है? मतलब किसी से पैसे नहीं उठाए मतलब आप बेकार हो क्या? Then I suddenly found that actually who invested in my company, and the thought came that it were the customers. So the next guy who
Right.
asked the question to me over the lunch break, I said, then actually we are a customer funded company, and that was a moment
That's
when
a great way to put it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that was the moment when we also got a lot of confidence. I mean, I individually, personally got a lot of confidence. That doesn't matter, what's happening outside. As long as what you have done has got strong fundamentals, I think you can change a lot of things.
But and I think I mean, again, there's another great story from your city, right, about customer capital, which is Wow Momos. I mean, I'm a big fan of the company more than the food. I'm a big fan of the entrepreneurs because they talk about customer capital, right? Like we were funded by customer capital, and I just feel like you correctly said, why are we afraid to ask customers for money, right? Especially at least ask them enough to cover your cost and make a profit,
Yeah,
right? And it's so funny. I mean, we're two Marwadi guys talking to each other and wondering why people can't charge a profit,
yeah.
right?
I think you should definitely charge money. If a customer is not paying you, this means that you are not adding enough value to him. And this means that it is going to be a non-sustainable business because people don't see value in what you are offering. I mean, this is the way I look at things. If you cannot make money out of something, don't do it.
Your turnover obviously started with about 10,000 rupees a month, right? And I believe today, at least the data that I have, over 11 million a year at this point.
Yes.
It's a great journey. Have you ever thought that I should probably merge with someone or probably take in some money and even make this possibly bigger, or is it going to continue this journey of just let's invest the equity back or invest the profits back into equity and just keep growing the same way?
So my thinking process is to keep investing back as and keep growing it as long as I'm enjoying it. And if it can go to a point where it can become a self-sustainable business, then let it be a self-sustainable business, which has its own culture. Because I'll tell you, Anirudh, there is a very special culture that we have developed. A lot of people hold Kolkata in contempt in terms of its culture, and we have broken that whole vicious circle and created a very special culture inside the company where people are not
Hmm.
ashamed of talking about profit, where people are not ashamed of talking about running a business, where even each individual talks about profit and how the company can be profitable. That is the culture we have been able to create in Kolkata, which a lot of people find very shocking, which even I don't find in many companies outside Kolkata, which are in a much better ecosystem. They are located in much better ecosystem. We don't find that. So I don't want this culture to get destroyed. So again, I think that I would love to run this company as long as I find it interesting, and as long as I can get people from inside the company to keep running it, and run it as an independent organization. Because I think sustainability and and holding strong culture are two very important things that entrepreneurs a lot of times don't think about. Because at the end of the day, that is what your legacy is all about. I mean, even if you talk about any legacy that someone can leave, I think that is the legacy that you can leave. Rest everything is money that you can always make or always encash upon.
No, I mean, I completely agree with you on every single point. I think, in fact, COVID is almost like that moment in history that where I think companies funded by customer capital and profits survived, and the ones that were funded by venture or were making operating losses, they died, right? So how was COVID for you? What was the whole journey like? Obviously from the lockdown to the unlocking to obviously working, suddenly everybody working from home. What has that been like, and what has the learnings been from this journey of 6 months?
Yeah, so Anurag, it was quite difficult on the early days, to be very frank, and I will not hold back on that. We had our difficult moments because suddenly the entire company was working from home. And honestly speaking, for the first month, I was feeling that I'm totally out of control. Lots of things are happening. People are logging in, logging out. I don't know what's happening. And then I realized that, let's start doing daily stand-ups. Then I started doing
Got
daily
it.
stand-ups, and then I started kind of trickling it down the hierarchy. And then I found that this daily stand-up is also not sufficient. Because this daily stand-up basically just handles the firefighting on a day-to-day basis. It doesn't build the company over a period of time. So then I started moving into this weekly calls with each of my key members, and I also asked them to do these weekly calls with their members, right? So, and I didn't force anyone. I just set results and targets that has to be achieved in next 1 week, and this is what we have achieved in last week. And then I would give a very genuine feedback, and this is how we started running the show. And over a period of time, it has become quite comfortable for us, and I am able to manage almost the entire organization half the day, every day. So I have another half day free, and in the early days, even 12-14 hours were falling short. So for me, it was a huge learning, and I think I will keep this learning for long term, and I will use it in further structuring not only my time but organizational culture.
Like when you started,
Yeah.
right? And did you imagine that today, 23 years later, this is where you'd be sitting, and this is the kind of company you would have built?
Honestly, no. I didn't think about it, because again, I think I plan, a step at a time. I am not a visionary. I have never been able to really visualize, my position and situation through decades. I'm sure there are lots of amazing guys who are visionary, who can see what they want to achieve, and and they achieve it. But I'm not one of them. I take a day at a time. I consider it more as an adventure. I consider that the journey is much more important than the destination, and I kind of love and enjoy the journey there.
I wish the team starts putting some of these nuggets of wisdom on the bottom, right? I enjoy the journey more than the destination. I mean, these are just nuggets of wisdom. But let me take a couple of audience questions. We've got some. I mean, we're obviously getting flooded at this point, but let's start off with Sandeep Arora. Sandeep says, Abhishek, you grew up in a Marwari family. What do you think being born in a Marwari business family helped or gain advantage as compared to someone who was born in a non-business family? What were the things that came in easy to you that would not have otherwise come?
So so Marwadi family, from even before I started my company, I used to sit in my dad's business. He had done variety of businesses. Maybe sitting in a shop and cutting bills, and sitting in his sawmill and making bills for the people who are coming and getting their woods sorted out. So that is good that you at least know about numbers. You know about money. I think that is the only good advantage you get. But again, there are a lot of disadvantages as well. Because you most of the Marwari families have not run technology businesses, which are much more dynamic, which are much more people oriented, and which are technology based, right? And that is the disadvantage as well. So I think it's a mix of both. One big thing that happened was, obviously, whenever I stumbled, I got a lot of mentoring from my dad, and that was been instrumental in my success till date. So, for example, the importance of making profit and being conservative in terms of money has been a couple of biggest learning that I have got from him. And also having control over the profits on each and every level, right? So how do you slice and dice and find out, if each and every element is generating profit or not? And if it is not, it should be by your will and not by chance. So if you're not making profit in a particular section, it's okay. But you should know that you are not making profit, and you should know why you are not
And
making
why
profit.
not?
And you are
Correct.
okay with it. And for how long you are okay with that. So all those, the control structure that I learned over a period of time, that has come from my dad. When I started stumbling, when I started having problems, he walked in and he showed me, this is how we manage money. So for example, any money that we invest into somewhere, we always count that investment at the book value in which we have invested. We never consider the upside, right? We only consider the money in the bank as our asset. We don't even consider any outstanding that we are supposed to receive as an asset. So these are like very traditional old Marwadi way of looking at accounts, looking at money, looking at business, which some people might find very odd, but I found that this has been instrumental in terms of giving me the financial acumen, and how do you use conservatism in a nice way to build your business, and that has
But see,
helped
that's
me.
the interesting part, Abhishek. You were an engineer,
Yeah,
and you're talking about accounts. I
yeah,
mean, you must really be 1% of the 1% at this point, right? Because it's very rare, and I think that I don't know if that's just a Marwadi thing, but I think like even for myself, it's just so important for me to see the trial balance every Friday, right? And there's a fund, there's a family office, there's all these other ventures, there's my own books. But if I don't see the trial balance on Friday, I feel incomplete on Saturday
yeah.
because I just don't
So
know where all the capital is at, right?
yeah.
Is that just a Marwadi thing, or do you think like how important is that to know where your
So
accounts are at?
as an engineer, I was always fascinated with nice projects. I was never really fascinated with accounts, right? So again, my educational journey was quite interesting. So after I did my, plus 12, I went to first, I first went to an engineering college, and I mean, I was never serious about joint entrance and IITs and all. because who will go and compete in those exams? I mean, that is not for me. So I somehow got into an engineering college even after that, after giving a very poor joint entrance exam. And I found that the engineering college had only 6 PCs out of 120 students. And I
Wow.
found it quite pathetic because I knew how to assemble PC by that time. So I said, this is not something that I'm enjoying. And the vice dean was not very happy with my statement. And he said, if you're not enjoying, then you should leave. And I took it very seriously. And then I went and joined BCom in St. Xavier's College. So I went to engineering. I dropped out within 3 months and went to join a BCom college, where I did enjoy the study, but I self-taught myself the entire engineering syllabus in a way. And then I went out to do my master's in UK, because in India, I mean, now the education policy has changed, but at that time the education policy was not like, you have done BCom and then you can do a master in technology. You can't do
Correct.
that. But UK was very open to that, and they took an exam, for an entry level understanding that do I have basic engineering concepts for a graduate or not, and then they admitted me into masters. So I am kind of, I would say, I'm kind of a mix between both. You can also say I'm a little confused personality in terms of my education, and I still
I
love to.
doubt that. I've known you for, I think, coming on 7 years. I think that's really stretching it at this point. I think we're confused. You know what you're doing.
Yeah. So I mean, I kind of, and that's why I also got a habit of going and learning diverse subjects. So I would learn about World War, I would learn about mountaineering. These are subjects I would love to learn. It's not like that I will only keep reading about business books of how to build the biggest enterprise. I think it's also important to do and love what you enjoy doing.
Now, there came obviously a moment where you went from, okay, I'm not gonna obviously raise funding for myself, and then you suddenly started putting money into other businesses, right?
Mhm.
And you became an angel investor, and you were also LP in a couple of really amazing funds. So one of them I definitely want to get into in a little more in depth,
Sure.
right? But like, where did that decision come? That, you know what, I think it's time to give back. I think it's time to put in money, and because I don't think there were many angel investors from Kolkata in the first place, and obviously it wasn't even on the VC map for many years, right? So you're pretty much a pioneer when you started angel investing. So where did that inspiration come from? What was the first company you invested in? I think both questions back to back.
So, the first thing that happened early in my career was like I had no idea about there is something called angel investment or VC or any kind of investment. I always thought that you have to do business with your money, and that's the only way out. There is no other way. There's no one to help you with money, and that's the way to do business. But when the business grew to a particular size, I think around 2008-9, um, uh, Pallav was like my younger brother in a way. He was also not
Acha.
only, but I knew his dad also. And when I started my company, I used to sell hosting to his dad. And I used to see Pallav sitting in one side of the office writing code. So we somehow became good friends because of this old connection. And I think Pallav was planning to shift to Bangalore. And he
Acha.
came, and we had a coffee in Cafe Coffee Day near our office. And he was just telling that these are the challenges, and Calcutta again does not breed good companies because there is no ecosystem. So I just asked him that, Pallav, then what should we do to breed a good ecosystem? And the discussion went on, and we said that we should start an angel fund. And on the spot, there were a few guys having coffee, and we kind of asked them, why don't you do a naming of the angel fund? And they gave a name called Cedars. And we started the fund then and there, and we committed a decent amount of capital from both the sides. And I think that was the entry point for me and Pallav, both in the angel investing industry as such. And um, and then I kind of started going out to understand, not just about angel investing, but also just to meet and understand what the external world looks like. Because I was not
Hmm.
traveling at that time too much. I was just traveling for very, very specific business meetings. So and since Pallav was living in Bangalore, I said, let's go out there and see what's happening. And again, I had a few other friends in that region, so I started going out. And in one of the meetings, there was a meeting being done by Morpheus. I think it was their first or second demo day. And I was invited into that, and I went there, and I saw lots of amazing companies out there. And I said, I think we should start investing really, and not just wait for getting great companies in Kolkata, but let's start investing wherever I get those companies. And we were discussing about that, and we found a great company. I don't want to name the company, and that has went on to become a big success story. And we wanted to invest in that company, but we were a day late. So
Oh wow.
they gave us a cutoff date, and we missed that cutoff date, and we went to invest in that company after that day from the demo day teams. And of course, they were all subscribed, and they did not take that money. And that gave me my first learning that if you like a company, do the deal on the spot. don't really, postpone it for days or any
Yeah, makes sense.
for yeah. So that was it, and then again, things kept coming in, and then we finally invested in a company called Cropin. Earlier it was called Cropex, and me and Vallabh
Okay.
invested in the company Cropin in individual capacity. We decided that even though we have a brand name called or a fund called
See,
Seeders, we would
Cedars.
invest in individual capacity, obviously for various reasons. So we invested in this company Cropin, which is I think doing pretty well now. They are I think one of the largest agri-tech player in India.
Acha.
Uh, yeah, and we invested in many other companies. Many of them flopped. We tried various permutation combination, and at one point of time, Pallav's choices evolved because he was living in Bangalore and he did a lot of other investments. And I also continued to do more investments. So I did around, I think I have done around 25 investments till date, and I've slowed down in recent time, last 3 4 years because I find it quite boring. And yeah, so
Oh,
that's
quite
that's
boring. I want to get into that.
because, a lot of times, when you invest, the challenge is that you are a very small shareholder in the company, which is fine, but don't get to really support the entrepreneur in a proper way because he will come to you when he needs help. If you try to
Correct.
support him in a bigger way, right, you are interfering, and I realize it because I am myself a founder. So I don't like to really interfere in my industry company's daily day-to-day affairs, and I have never done that. So when I found that if I cannot really contribute beyond the point, what's the use of really being a part of
Sitting
that
there.
business? Right. So that was kind of a turning point for me when I said, I don't want to be these angel deals. I still do, I'm still a little greedy. I still keep doing 1 or 2 deals in a year, but but I mostly focus on venture building as a subject, which I think is much more close to my heart.
Let's talk about Morpheus. I think you've already referenced it,
Yeah.
but where is Cedars though right now? Is Cedars still live? Is it how many companies has it done so far? And
Yeah. So we didn't invest it through Seeders at all. We did in our own
Acha.
capacity because we didn't knew about a lot of things and we just registered the company. But then we realized that it's better to do it in individual names. So we started doing it in individual names, but the brand stayed on for some time, and then it is still there.
Is
There's a
it,
company that exists.
is the company still there? Wow. Okay, you guys have kept it. I mean, kept it alive. That's for such a long time. But then Morpheus, I believe you were an investor in the Morpheus fund as well, which has
Yes.
done. I mean, I think one of the best, uh, I would say, incubator accelerator funds in India.
Oh,
Just
by far.
the kind of returns it gave, and I have a small story of my own. In fact,
Yeah.
Avik, who was on episode 4 of the Money Talks, we both actually met at Morpheus on the way to Morpheus. We were going to Morpheus together, and that was the first excursion I did as an angel in the country, where I went to Chandigarh to see Morpheus and to understand what an accelerator looks like. And it does not look anything like an accelerator, by the way. A very different feel to an accelerator, but I thought the kind of thought they put behind, how to support an entrepreneur, I think was truly unique in a country at that time that had no idea about how to support entrepreneurs. And so what was your motivation to sort of support that fund, and is there anything you learned from that experience?
So Samir invited me to his demo day, and then he connected me with some of his startups. He also invited me to one of his events. He used to do these offsite events with all his startups, and he invited me to one of his events because he felt that I can add some value, or at least I can see what's happening. And I was absolutely blown away. I felt that this is where the future lies, and I think that is still now. I mean, I have met a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people who run accelerators and incubators. By far, even compared to the lavish looking accelerators today, I think Morpheus is still ahead of its time. And I
Yep.
made new friends, and the whole energy was infectious. And I learned a lot about building business because still now, if you see, I have built business purely based on my gut feeling, and as life took me into different directions. There was no plan, there was no idea that how businesses should be built. Right? Obviously, I may have taken a lot of right decisions, I have taken a lot of wrong decisions, but the principle of building a business was not there, right, with me. And if someone asked me again to build a business from scratch, again I would have made possibly the same mistakes, or I would have
Correct.
failed. But when I met these entrepreneurs, I started learning so much that I understood that how really you should build a business, and that whole learning of building business came to me, and that was invaluable. So my idea was that when you work with smart people, you learn a lot more than you can gain from the investment. So my idea was learning from the amazingly smart people that were part of Morpheus, and there I saw the opportunity to mingle with them, to learn from them, and to share my learnings, whatever I have had. So that is where my real career started, I would say. So almost after running IndusNet for 12, 13 years, that is where my real career started, where my learning started, where my own development started. And I started feeling that, I am growing in my life.
In fact, it's so true. I think in many ways, and not just even, although I've been through something similar, but I think every person I've talked to as an entrepreneur feels almost as if when they invest in other companies, they're teaching themselves. It's almost like a learning cost. The fun part obviously is to be part of all these journeys, but you're really learning about how to run your business better because you obviously have somebody else doing it with a very fresh perspective in life.
True.
So I think I mean that's something very unique. You could say that is only available through the journey of being an angel investor. So now that you've invested in both, you've been 25 companies directly. You've been part of the Morpheus Fund as an LP, right? What do you prefer, funds direct or your third strategy, which is acquisition or acqui-hire?
Mhm. So, I mean, I would prefer, as at this point of time, I would continue to like to make few investments here and there, and get more into the side of acquiring companies which are linked to my business and build a bigger empire. Because I feel that when there's a lot of talk, Anirudh, about building ecosystems, right? Especially in
Correct.
this tier three cities, which are underserved in terms of ecosystem, in terms of funding network. I feel that the only way you can really build an ecosystem is by building a great company in that location. See what has happened in Chennai, right? Zoho came up, and Zoho literally built a complete ecosystem. Right? Geographies, if you see, different companies came up, which actually, because of their success, they created the whole ecosystem. I feel that if I have to really contribute to Kolkata as a geography, right, I have to build a great company. That's the only way I can really build an ecosystem. There is no other way to build ecosystem in today's world. Right? So a great company will create a lot of stories. It will create a lot of entrepreneurs. It will create a lot of knowledge. It will also bring a lot of talent on the ground. And I think things will start happening, and it has already started happening. So my logic is right now that I would like to do strategic investment in companies, and where my partners run the company along with me. So I am not looking at buying out companies. I'm looking at making strategic investment in companies which complete my portfolio of services, where I can compete with the best in the world in digital. And my partners run those companies, and I bring the best practices, I bring the connections, I bring the sales, I bring the common functionalities inside the business from my experience and my pool.
And I think that is exactly leading to my next question, which is, you've obviously created an ecosystem because you're actually hiring these companies. So there's all these entrepreneurs all under one roof, right? In fact, INT or IndusNet Technologies, right? How do you sort of keep so many entrepreneurs together, right? Because they all have different energies, right? And they all are very strong-headed in their own sense. But you've obviously found a way to put them all on one mission and to work together to create something much bigger than themselves. So what's the key? What's the way you've been able to do that?
So the way we operate, Anirudh, is that we have some basic key principles on the top, and then we let everyone run the companies the way they want to run. Okay, we don't try to micromanage them. We don't try to run their businesses. We do strategic discussions. We do course corrections if they have gone off the course, if they are not making profits. We help them in implementing the same learning that I have stumbled across at one point of time, so that they don't make the same mistakes again. But overall, we let them operate in their own ways. So I'll give you an example. So we run a company. I run a company with Ajay Isaac Matthew, my co-founder not my co-founder, actually. I am a director. He's the founder of the company, and he is a co-founder. So it's called TechShoe. It was a digital marketing firm, actually our nearest competitor in Eastern India. And I knew Ajay for a long time, and I had a lot of respect for him. And one day when I approached him, I said, why don't we join hands instead of competing? And we agreed, and IndusNet took majority equity in that company, and Ajay runs
Oh,
the
wow.
entire marketing business. So now IndusNet does not do digital marketing, so he has actually been able to clear up a competitor. This means he can develop the business. So it's a win-win. Right? I think at the end of the day, it is important that we create win-win scenarios. And my objective is always to create win-win scenarios, give enough freedom and respect to each of the founder, because each founder brings a vision. And without that vision, that founder is nothing. Right? So I try
Without
to
a vision, the founder is nothing. Guys, you've got to put that on the bottom.
and I try to kind of adapt myself to his vision. It is not necessary that everyone has to always adapt to my vision, because if you have to work together, I think it is more of mutual respect and how you kind of want to build a bigger organization together. And for anyone to understand and accept my vision, it will take time. Nobody's going to accept it overnight, and you have to have that patience, right? So I think a lot of merger and acquisition fails because people don't have patience to tolerate each other or to work with each other or to accept each other's shortcomings. So I think that is there. Maybe I'm quite tolerant because I think I come from Kolkata, which is slow moving. So maybe that has given me the tolerance. But yes, I think maybe that is the advantage for me.
I think it also begs the question with so many entrepreneurs around, right? Does that change the way maybe even where the whole ship is going to move, right? Eventually, or how do you? Because obviously you're the captain today, but you've
Yeah,
also got all these people that each has an oar, and one could be going faster than the other, and then moving the ship they want the way they want. I mean,
yeah.
in a way, how do you manage that kind of? I guess that kind of flux that comes from it, because most of the time what I've seen, at least in India, and not just India, I think it's pretty much a global phenomenon, that most mergers, almost 85% of them never work, right? And only 15% that do, that is also goes on to become a future issue in itself, right? So you've been able to successfully do it multiple different times, so how are you ensuring that the vision that you have for IndusNet
Yeah.
continues to stick, but you also have all these guys whose energies are aligned with that?
So see, all of them hold substantial share in their own companies. This means they have got deep skin in the game, and obviously they are there to gain from the overall growth of their company and IndusNet. So if tomorrow we have any kind of a mini liquidity event with IndusNet, they are all free to kind of fold into IndusNet as a entity, and they can get liquidity, which is very difficult to
Oh
get
wow.
a company to get liquidity in Eastern India, especially. So I think we are
Right.
creating an ecosystem by which a lot of these smaller companies can grow with us, give us bring capability on our table, and also help us in creating a leadership pipeline. So tomorrow, if Abhishek is not there running IndusNet, there are multiple entrepreneurs, one of whom can succeed to the position of CEO and run the company, which is very rare
Wow.
again. How many companies do you see where you already have a succession planning, which was started with a single founder? So I think we have been able to build that, and that level of trust has been built. And as I said, my partners always hold a decent amount of holding inside the company. Generally, it is around 40% or above, and they are the decision makers. They take all the shots, right? So I don't take shots. So I am not CEO of any of these companies which I have done either in joint venture or I have acquired. I have let the CEO remain the CEO. I have let the founder remain the founder, and I decide to continue to do that in future also, because I think the emotional connect that they have with that company, I will never be able to have. And let's be frank, any
True.
company which acquires you can never have the same amount of emotional connect with the company and its culture and its system and the processes than the actual original founder has. So I want them to continue to run the business and benefit from the upside that IndusNet brings on the table.
So what's on your wish list today, right? What kind of entrepreneur, let's say, wherever they are in the country, should approach you, and what's the kind of business you would like to probably go out and start making it into a part of IndusNet?
So right now, Anirudh, I am looking at capability building. This means I'm not looking at very large businesses. I'm looking at a small business which is in turnover of between 1 crore to maybe 3 crores or maybe 5 crores, which has just started making money, which has just started getting out there, right? And the founder is finding it difficult to scale, or the founder feels that he needs a co-founder along with him to grow that business. I will be more than happy to kind of do strategic investment in that company and let him run the business along with giving all the benefits and the customer access of IndusNet, and kind of provide a one-stop, digital solution like the big boys in the market, to these companies, but just much more agile. Because the large companies, unfortunately, they're not agile at all, and at times they don't have the best customer interest in their mind. And I have seen it with closed quarters. And we have a very simple philosophy that if the customer doesn't win, any money that you are making is sin. There is no value in that.
And on your checklist, what are the items that are in bold when you're looking at entrepreneurs? So when the entrepreneurs are self-evaluating, like will I be part of IndusNet? What are the things that they should be careful of, or they should be cognizant of when they're approaching you?
I think resilience is number one. I think someone who wants to build things for long term, who believes in the infinite game, as Simon Sinek says. I'm interested in working with those people who are in the infinite game, who are in this game to learn, right? So obviously you will make money as a byproduct, but I think entrepreneurship journey, as I said, it's a journey to be enjoyed and the journey to learn from, right? And I think I draw this parallel because of my not so successful trekking career, because there also, you kind of enjoy the journey more than the destination, and you learn a lot while you are on that journey. So I'm looking at people who enjoy to learn in the journey rather than just rush to reach the destination. I may be very offbeat, but yes, this is what I am.
And if somebody wants to reach out to you to either get funded or to have a strategic connect with you, what's the
Yeah.
best way for them to reach out?
Oh, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. I'm in all these places. If you just search for my full name, Abhishek Rungta, I think you should find me. And
Great.
down,
So, guys, any of you entrepreneurs that think has an opportunity and thinks you want to be part of this amazing ecosystem, this amazing play that is called IndusNet Technologies, best place. Reach out to him on Twitter. Reach out to him on LinkedIn. Reach out to him on Facebook. I think Abhishek, before we move into rapid fire, I think there was a few things you want to talk about that IndusNet is currently offering entrepreneurs for even for their own venture building process. Do you want to talk about that for a couple of minutes?
yeah, so what we do is also inside the company, I have started dividing the company in small organisms, like small portions. So each strategic business unit is been now given to people inside the organization so that they can also run and build it like an enterprise in their own right. They can also become entrepreneurial, and we are continually doing this, continuous division within the organization. So I feel that smaller, nimble, customized organization for the purpose that they are built for, I think they are far more powerful for the customer success than anything else. And at the end of the day, if customer success is kept as the end objective, I think that particular small company and the enterprise as a whole will be very successful. So that's the whole idea. So I continue to figure out people as entrepreneurs from within the organization and give them opportunity to build portions of the business.
So Abhishek, the next section, I think we talked about it very briefly, is this section we called rapid fire, right? This is the only part of the show that you have not been given any information about. You have no idea what I'm going to ask you. But what's going to happen is I'm going to ask you about 12 or 13 questions that I've got over here, one after the other. And whatever first answer comes to mind, you just need to just give it out. Okay? So
So,
are you ready for it?
yeah, it's scary, but yes, I'm ready.
Yeah, good. I think getting outside the comfort zone, right? That's the key. So,
Absolutely.
so without further ado, let's start with rapid fire. First question, and this is a very common question I ask everyone, which is the Peter Thiel question. Abhishek, one thing that you know to be true, but very few people agree with you on it.
Yes. Bootstrapping. Bootstrapping.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
very true. I absolutely, and I actually have done it. So I think most people will have to agree with you on it. They don't have a choice on that one.
I think that's recently. Otherwise, people used to believe the other way.
I guess, right? I mean, obviously, after 23 years, right? Your numbers do the talking, right?
Yeah.
That's what really matters. Um, I think I know the answer to this one, but I'm going to ask you any which ways. Scaling before profitability or profitability before scaling, and I'm talking about unit economics at the unit economic level.
Any day, profitability before scaling. Any day.
So, which company in your anti portfolio hurts you the most?
Oyo.
Oh wow, I know about the Oyo story.
It's for some other day.
Some other day. uh, so let's talk about your typical morning routine. What is your typical morning routine?
It's mostly around getting ready. I go for a morning walk. I I eat a lot of healthy stuff that my mom kind of prepares for me so that I stay healthy. And I'm not a health freak as such, but yes, she takes care of getting all those things out, and my wife supports on that. So I have to have it, and then a little bit of a pranayam, a little bit of nowadays the two things that has got added to the routine is gargle and steam, which was nowhere to my life earlier. But I generally get ready and get on to work.
Your favorite superhero?
My favorite superhero, Superman.
Superman, and why?
There's no reason behind it. It's just that that's the first name came to my mind, and I think that is one superhero that I have seen most movies for.
One piece of advice to founders about fundraising.
I, go as far as you can without raising funds, so that you can get the funds at the best valuation.
It's so important, I think. Yeah.
And raise
Sorry,
it
you're
from
saying.
and raise it from people who understand business and who have been there, done that, who have themselves been entrepreneur. I think are possibly the best investors. I may be biased because I am one of them, but I think founder investors are the best investors.
True. I agree. Especially the early stages. I think when financial jugglery is not as important as innovation and support for that. Completely. That's a really good one. If you could pick the brains of one person for 24 hours, ask them anything you want, who would it be?
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. And what would you like to learn from him?
What I mean, how he kind of maneuvered this whole uh, you know uh, the industry, because it is not. I mean, he built a company which he literally made a monopoly over time. And I think when we talk about tech monopolies, I think after IBM, that was the second largest tech monopoly in the history of our tech world. Right. So again, I've grown up reading about his success story. I have grown up using his products. I think there's a lot more to than what we know about him. I think to a great extent he remains a little bit of a mystery man, though he has written books about his own life. But I think those are not really touching those nuggets of wisdom that we all want. I mean, books about Warren Buffett have been written. All those books are there, where their entire mind has been kind of, to a great extent,
Yeah.
put in the open. But I don't think Bill Gates' mind has been put in open at that level yet.
And I, to your point, I think it's also the monopoly that has lasted everyone else,
Yeah,
right? I mean, IBM monopoly came and went, but
yeah,
Microsoft today seems to be it's still going to monopolize the next 20 years at least,
yeah,
right? Just the way they're going.
yeah.
And also somebody who's been able to successfully create a next level of leadership as the company goes
One of
ahead.
the rare people who have done that.
Very, very rare. One thing you would like to change about the Indian startup ecosystem?
I think uh, the glamorization, it's over glamorized. I think it needs to be more reality based. I think people need to understand that first of all, entrepreneurship is not for everyone, and second is
So,
that every business is not fundable, and third I think is that investor money is their own money. At least they should use it like their own money, and build strong businesses rather than use nice buzzwords. I mean, I never used to know that, but I learned about that, and but I figured out that at the end of the day, those things don't matter. And last but not the least, I think they need to build strong customer connect, as I always believe in, because at the end of the day, the word of mouth and customer success is what takes the company a long way. And I think we should be able to build strong, sustainable businesses in India, rather than just copying Silicon Valley blindly.
I think you're also subtly talking about the value of building a personal brand, or rather the company brand,
Yeah.
through good work and through word of mouth, right? Versus just trying to go, hell and high water when it comes to digital marketing and just that transactional marketing that most people are actually more invested into these days.
And I will not be ashamed to say that I really despise the advertising that has been done by White Hat Junior. I think they are taking it too far, and kind of kind of crossing the line of ethics somewhere. So I think I would not like to build companies like that. I mean, obviously they have made a lot more money than I have made in my entire life, but at the end of the day, it's not only about making money. I mean, if you just need to make money, then you can be anything. I mean, you can be the next big don in the market, or you can be a bit. Making money is not the ultimate goal. Yeah.
Let's see. When do you get your best work done? Morning or night? Like, are you a morning person or night person?
Both in extreme. So either very early morning or very late night.
So, guys, if anybody wants to reach out to Abhishek, very early morning or very late night. uh, if you were to be convicted for a crime, what would it be? And I think we got pretty close in Portugal to getting arrested for a couple of crimes, but leaving those aside,
Yeah.
if you were to be convicted for a crime, what would it be?
Maybe speed driving and maybe killing someone.
Well, I'll leave the last one out, but speed driving is okay for now.
Yeah. No, I'm not
um,
killing someone because of speed driving. Not really going and killing someone.
because you drive fast, is what you're saying. Okay,
Times, times, yes. But fortunately, I have never had an accident.
touch wood, and let's keep it that way. Since you're an avid blogger as well, and you were talking about blogging, who is one blogger you look up to, or one and you would recommend others to also follow?
Oh, there are many. I mean, I love the articles that comes out on Anderson Horowitz's blog. I really love them, and I
It,
also
it's it seems that, right?
they were very educational for myself. I learned a lot of things from there. And again, I don't generally go apart from these two or three names. I generally don't go by individuals. I go by more of the genre of content, and I try to see and absorb different flavors, and that is what gives me a lot more diversified thought process. And another person who has whose blogs, and I don't think he blogs a lot, he tweets a lot. Naval Ravikant, I think he's just amazing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's someone really to look forward to. So yeah, I think we've got your last question. Uh, Three books you would recommend to founders to read.
Again, I'm quite diversified in my taste for books. I think founders should read diversified subjects because that gives them a much broader perspective and lateral thinking. If it comes to business books, I think Hard Things About Hard Things is an amazing book. Any book by Jim Collins, I just love them. Most of the book by
Great.
Tom
Yeah.
Peters, I adore it because Tom Peters talk absolutely straight, and I mean, and he talks as straight, that I mean, he's at a risk of hurting you at times, but he's a straight talker. So I love reading his books. In fact, his books are not books; it's like a collection of quotes, I would say. So yes, I love reading his books.
Tom Peters, Jim Collins, and the hard thing about hard things.
Yeah.
Wow. And with that, I would say that, the hardest part of this show is over. So, thank you so much. I mean, the answers were amazing, uh, Abhishek. I think while we've got, I think some more people asking questions, I'm going to leave that aside because I want to talk to you about blogging. What is the importance of, I think, blogging for an entrepreneur or even an investor? I think is there.
I think blogging is like thinking aloud. So a lot of times entrepreneurs are lonely, and in fact the most lonely creature that you can find in any business ecosystem. And I think they need to talk to themselves. And I think blogging is a great way to talk to yourself. So that is the reason I started blogging in the first phase. Second phase, when I came to blogging and Twitter, I think it was a little bit it moved to creating your own personal brand. And the reason for creating my own personal brand was to create a moat, between because there are hundreds of companies which are extremely because I'm in an extremely competitive space, and there are hundreds of companies in that space. If you have to stand out, you have to also create your personal brand, which makes you stand out. So the second reason when I kind of jumped into more of blogging or more of social media, it was more to create a personal brand. And now I'm in the third phase of my blogging career, or you can say social media, usage. Here it is more about ensuring that the knowledge that I have gained or the experiences that I have gained, I would say more of experiences than knowledge because I don't know if that is all true or not, is to put it out in the open and to make sure that it lives and has its own life. So these are the three at three different times. These were the three different reasons for me to blog or write content.
And would you encourage every founder to blog?
Of course, because I mean, if they are in the early phase, obviously they need to talk to someone, and maybe that someone can be, the blog.
Yeah, perfect. And it's so funny that you say that because it's so serious. Like so many times when I started my angel journey, I didn't really know who to talk to about all these different things that I thought were right or wrong. And
Yeah,
and today when I go back and 6 years later, my blog's been on for 6 years now. I look at
yeah,
some of the first blogs and I'm like, wow, this is what I really thought at that time, right? And you can literally see how far you've come because you've got this digital journal that you've got from so many years. And I think a lot of people also identify with you because of the things you write, because you think you may be the only one. But the funny thing is, there's 85,000 startups in India, which any startup is having at least two founders, which means there's at least 2 lakh people going through the same thing you're going through right now. So
yeah.
if there's probably at least 1% of them that are similar to yours, there's 200 people, right? And I think the mathematics just works from there. So Abhishek, I think we've come to the end of our time. I'm this time I'm really on time. We're right at an hour. But any final thoughts before we end the show for tonight?
No, I think we have covered it quite well. Thank you so much, Anirudh, for having me and giving me the honor of coming on your show and really speak to you as well as your entire audience. And yes, I'll cherish this experience.
Thank you so much, Abhishek. Thank you for those kind words. Honestly, the pleasure was all mine. I think I have the best seat in the house. Every Thursday night, I get to interview awesome entrepreneurs, awesome founders, awesome funders, and it only expands my journey, my learning even further. So thank you so much, everyone that was on, and looking forward to having you back in a future show. And at that time, maybe we'll talk about INT even more deeply, and your journey between the two shows.
Bye bye.
Good night, everybody.